guys, welcome back. Today we are starting a new series on my channel and I'm calling it an anti-review. It's a riff on an anti-haul because I do love doing anti-hauls so much, but there's a fine line sometimes between things that you know that you don't want to buy and things that you know you shouldn't buy. But it's really hard sometimes, especially as a beauty reviewer, to pass on a new kind of viral palette. So today I have pan for pan tried to dupe the new Huda Beauty The New Nudes palette because it is one of them that was tempting me, but I just wanted to go through my insane collection, you guys. Like, there's some dental floss there because I don't know if you, goodbye. I don't know if you ever like tried depotting eyeshadows, but it's really hard. So the whole idea behind this is to try and answer the question, will it dupe? And I know that I don't own every eyeshadow on the planet, but I do want to offer not just alternatives, because I know you guys don't own the same eyeshadows that I do, but also just kind of an exercise in looking at what you already have and maybe taking that and constructing something and probably saving yourself $65. I am today starting with this. This is my new Salt New York magnetic palette. I've never owned one of these before, and it's actually really exciting because I do have a lot of loose blushes and eyeshadows and things of that nature that kind of needed a place to live, but for now, this is what's living in there. This is my Frankenstein Huda Nudes palette, and you'll notice that there are a couple missing, and that is because, well, the ones that match the best are actually out of the Soft Glam palette, but if you've ever tried depotting a shadow from an Anastasia palette, you know that it is actually impossible. They make it impossible. They do sell their shadows individually, which is fine, but the idea here being, I don't want to buy a new eyeshadow unless I think that there's like a hole in my collection that I think needs filling. So there are a couple of shades, and honestly I've seen these compared a lot online. A lot of people think that if you have the Soft Glam palette, you really don't need the Huda Nudes palette because there are so many of the same similar shades. But I will say that the main thing I see that is different are these glitters. And there's also a concealer in her palette, which I think is unnecessary, especially because anybody, especially somebody who's like shopping for a glittery eyeshadow palette, already owns a concealer. So, I don't know, maybe the formula is incredible, but we're just going to be using a regular concealer today. And I went on Instagram and I looked at the looks that people are creating with this Huda palette, and it really rings just one look that everybody's going for, and it is kind of this pinky brown cut crease with a glitter lid, and that is what we're going to be going for today. See if we can kind of scratch the itch with my Frankenstein palette here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this actual palette that I bought, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom you guys in, and we will get to answering the question of will it dupe? So this is the Salt New York palette. This was created by a fellow small creator who happens to be one of my favorite creators on the entire platform. Her name is Kackie G, Caitlin Galloway, and she wrote a book that's on Amazon. I think it's called How the Heck to Do Makeup, and I need to put it on my Christmas list, actually. But I've been wanting to be her friend for so long, you guys. Like, anybody who's been watching my channel since I had like 1,000 subscribers, I was like, oh my god, Kackie G is my hero. But when she put this out and I had this idea to kind of Frankenstein these palettes together, I was like, well, if I'm gonna spend my money on something like this, I want it to go to somebody who's building their business. And I know how much she cares about this. And you guys, when I first saw her talk about these on her channel, I was like, I mean, that's nice. It's like a wallet. It's cool. It's so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I didn't like grasp the scale of this thing. And it's so heavy. It's awesome. Like, it's really, really legit. It does have like a magnetic closure on its own, but then it also zips together. It comes obviously with your magnetic backing right there, and it comes with all of these little discs to stick your eyeshadows on there if they don't have, like, if they just have like aluminum, it's not gonna be magnetic. I want to kind of give you guys a tour here. This is mostly, like, all these big square guys are Natasha Denona, so it's like if you've invested in a Natasha Denona palette already, the Nudes palette from Huda is mostly those. Like, it's those, and then it's a lot of these really, like, eye-catching, like, magpie glitters. And so I don't really have a lot of that. I've got these kind of golds and I've got a couple of like little pinks. This one's from ColourPop. This one's a Sigma one. And this one is Makeup Geek. Makeup Geek makes it really easy to pull their shadows out. So does Natasha Denona. And then these two right here are actually J.cat Beauty from a palette that I haven't even had the chance to review on my channel yet. That's how backlogged I am with stuff that I have bought. You can see we had some issues depotting this one. She cracked a lot and I had to kind of put her back together, but I think that she'll survive. Let's go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to start by priming my eyes with the Angel Eyes Primer from Luscious Cosmetics. So I'm going to start by just kind of dusting this pink right here. I'll list all of the shades below and kind of like what I thought matched them because it is kind of tedious, but it's from the Safari palette. I mean, I can go ahead and tell you that I don't have the glitters in the formula that is from this palette, like in my collection, but there are a lot of really cool indie brands that are putting out these single pan shadows, and a lot of them like being pressed glitters. Another local Austin company that I really want to try is called Dear Katie Brown, and I mean, you guys, she basically specializes entirely in cruelty-free pressed glitters, and they are crazy. If you see something unique, especially if you kind of want to do this exercise and try and kind of mimic some of the eyeshadow looks that you see on like Instagram that people have created from a palette like this, like any new palette, and you find that there's kind of a hole in your collection, look and see, because there are some really, really cool, really high quality indie brands that'll sell you a single pan shadow for $5, and you're giving your money to someone who really appreciates it, and it's actually helping support them. And even if that doesn't work out for you, Urban Decay sells their shadows individually. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is go in with this, this shade right here. I will put the name of it on the screen because I need to write these things down. But this is also from Natasha Denona. And we're just gonna start building the crease. And one of the biggest things that I've seen that actually kind of put me off of this palette is how berry toned things are. It's kind of interesting because I've seen, depending on the person, the creator who's posting these pictures, sometimes this palette looks insanely cool toned and sometimes it looks incredibly like wine berry, like bright pink. And I see swatches and they look kind of lavender, and then I see swatches and they look almost like hot pink red. I'm just looking for creative ways to kind of share these things with you guys without telling you to run out and spend money. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my Define Crease brush from Makeup Geek, and I'm going to start defining the crease. And I'm going to do that with these two right here. These are also from the Safari palette. And it's okay if this gets on the lid because we are going to go over it with a concealer. I always forget how hard it is for me to talk while I'm doing eyeshadow. Like, I haven't done this in a while. Done just like a full eye look. These Natasha Denona shadows though are like a lot easier to work with than I remember. I think that you kind of just get used to working with this formula. It's extremely sticky. And I don't know what the Huda formula is like because I haven't owned one of her palettes before. And honestly, I kind of never knew who she was. Like, she's just always been kind of an Instagram sensation that's just sort of outside of my periphery because she just has an aesthetic that's very, very like done. It's a lot of makeup, and you guys know that I'm not like a lot of makeup kind of person. And so I have, like, you know, stuck my fingers in the palettes when I'm waiting in line at Sephora and stuff, and they're beautiful. I do hear that they don't travel well because they are very brittle. And then I'm going to go back into this one and just blend back up. And you guys, if you know, if you're looking at this and you're like, yeah, Kackie, you're using a Natasha Denona palette, which is twice the price of the Huda Beauty palette, and you're like saying, oh, okay, well, I can dupe it with this. There are plenty of actual dupes for the Safari palette and for like any of the Natasha Denona palettes. Like we've actually done one before where I did a dupe for the Tropic palette. They're on Amazon and they don't perform that poorly. Like I think that they're pretty good. So this is just using what I have, and I have chosen to invest in these palettes, and I think that that's kind of half the reason that I want to be able to justify not investing in more palettes, is because I want to think that this collection can hold me over until I pan some of these things. So I hope that that kind of makes sense and resonates a little bit. So we've got ourselves a pretty legit little gradient going here. Now I'm going to take some concealer, some kind of sticky, creamy concealer, and I'm going to put it on my lid. I think I'm just going to use the Tarte Shape Tape. That's what I've seen people using on Instagram, which I think is funny, because they're talking about this palette and then they use Tarte Shape Tape, and I'm like, there's a concealer in the palette. Ooh. I don't know. I'm gonna stick some of this like on the back of my hand and then apply it with a brush. I have the Sigma Concealer F70 here, and we're just going to use this to cut my crease all over my lashes, apparently. Cool. You can tell this is definitely something I do all the time. If there's any question as to whether or not I am actually Nikki Tutorials in disguise, this should dispel all suspicion. Plus she's like 24, so her eyelids don't drag like mine. So that wasn't like the world's greatest job of that, and I probably should have had a flat brush handy. Oh, actually, I don't even know if I need a flat brush. I'm going to go in with my finger and we're going to just start playing with some glitters. We can just start with maybe this one from ColourPop. Aha, yes. So this one from ColourPop doesn't swatch very well, like when you just stick your finger in it, but when you put it on top of a concealer, you can see that the glitter really comes out. I'm going to now I have Oro here, and I don't know, these are a couple of the glitters from the gold palette, and I think I'm going to go for this kind of warmer one. And I'm going to kind of build the outside with that. And then I'm going to take my finger, my pinky, in this little Sigma shade right here. This is from their Warm Neutrals 2 palette, and it's not really glittery, but I'm hoping that we can still get some shimmer out of it. And just kind of push that in there. And I'm going to take that same shade from Sigma, and I'm just going to kind of draw the inside of the cut crease with it. Ooh, oh my gosh, yes, I love that. Gonna take a little bit more of that pink from ColourPop and go over the center of the lid again. Yeah, that is an insane shade. And this is just one I bought as a single, so again, these are like, you know, that option does exist. I'm reluctant to use like a brown, so I'm just going to use that original, well, let's use this one from J.cat right here that broke into a million pieces when I tried to depot her, and recut this part of the crease. Ooh, wow, that is a creamy eyeshadow. Gorgeous. Because we haven't really gone into soft glam here, and I've only been using the Natasha Denona ones, I want to use some of Dusty Rose right here to just kind of blend up a little bit, because I think that that's actually one of the key shades that's in this palette, the Huda palette. And even though I don't love the Anastasia formula, I just kind of want to show that, like, I don't know, these are extremely similar. And I'm also going to take some of, let's see, glistening right here on my pinky, and I'm going to go on the inner corner. Alright, and I'm going to go back in with Dusty Rose, which honestly is so similar to that Natasha Denona shade that, like, I don't know, I feel like I can kind of double accomplish this shade in my collection. And I'm going to go really aggressively underneath my lash line because, I don't know, like all these looks that I see on Instagram are just like kaboom, so. And then I'm gonna go back into this like light pink shade right here and work that down so that we get a really nice blend underneath the eyes. And I'm also going to take that kind of up here just to kind of contain everything. I'm gonna take that same stubby brush and dip it back in that kind of creamy pink. If you're unfamiliar with the Super Shock shadows from ColourPop, they're weird. They're kind of putty-ish, and so you do have to kind of like figure out the best way to get them to apply, and sometimes you kind of have to pick up more product than you really mean to. But they are absolutely gorgeous, and I think that like I've learned today that they work really well on top of a concealer. Gonna take just a little bit of that like light shade and really cut that crease, maybe even a little higher so that it shows a little more when my eye is open, and then touch that glitter back on the top. All right, I'm going to hop off and do my other eye real quick. I'll be right back. And I think I might throw an eyeliner on as well because that is what I'm seeing on all of these. So I will be right back with you. Okay guys, so this is the final look and you can go ahead and laugh at my eyeliner. Laura Lee is quaking right now. But I think, like, if we are answering the question, will it dupe? Yeah, I mean, I would say 90%. Like, it's scratching the itch for me because I think, okay, so when you look at a brand new palette online, you're like, oh, this is incredible, this is new, this is gorgeous, this is shiny, and sometimes, just for the sake of practicality, I hate to be that person, but just for the sake of practicality and for like not being such a consumer and being like anxious about spending so much money on stuff that you're not really using, it helps to kind of perform an exercise like this where you go into what you have and actually try and dupe maybe pan for pan, or at least for the ones that you're really, really excited about, like distill a new palette down to what you're excited about and see if you already have it in your collection or if it can be accomplished by buying some single shadows. So I'm going to hunt down some like pressed pink glitters and I will list them below. And I will also list below all the actual names of the shadows that I used in my salt palette over here. A lot of them are Natasha Denona, but a lot of them are really random. And then I do think that I have others that would have gotten the job done just as well that were just a little harder to depot. So I think that the reason that a lot of these are Natasha Denona is because Natasha Denona makes it so easy to take the actual individual pans out of her palettes because she focuses on makeup artists and understands that makeup artists are going to make their own custom palettes. They're not going to carry around a dozen palettes with them all the time. So anyway, I think that this was a very valuable exercise for me. I really enjoy the look, but I don't know that it is necessarily something that I would wear often enough that I want to go and spend $65 on a palette that, you know, does this for me. And, you know, are the glitters blinding? No. But I think that I could easily accomplish that by buying, like I said, an individual pan. I'm not like demonizing buying her palettes or something like that, but I do know that she, at least as of yet, as of the moment of this filming, does not sell individual pans. So this is more for people who are, you know, just like an anti-haul. We are just trying to take a more practical approach to looking at what's coming out in this crazy, like, breakneck pace that all this makeup is coming out right now, especially during the holidays, and just taking a breather and being like, do I really need this? And the answer for me on the Huda palette is no. So guys, I hope that you enjoy this concept. If you do, if you like the anti-review, then let me know. Put a thumbs up under there, but also leave me a comment and let me know kind of what palettes you're lusting after right now, and we will see if I can kind of reconstruct them and get a token look that people are getting from that palette and see if we can kind of accomplish it without spending any money. So if you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, guys, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you did. Thank you so much for watching today and for hanging out with me and for letting me introduce this new idea. And again, if you've seen this on someone else's channel, please leave it down below. I looked all over the place to see if someone else had done like an anti-review or like a will it dupe or like duping any kind of palette with like stuff they already had. And it might just have been the algorithm, but I like scrolled forever and all I could find were just, you know, I found anti-hauls, and then I found, you know, dupe videos, and then I found, you know, people reviewing Rihanna's music videos, but like I couldn't find this particular concept. So if you are familiar with someone else who's doing this, let me know so that I can give them credit for kind of, you know, also doing this. You know, credit where credit's due. So I hope you guys like this. Thank you so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.